Next up, our next speaker is Chris Ehrlich. And Chris is a partner in the financial services and industry team at the law firm of Husch Blackwell. He has spent more than 20 years working with ultra-affluent families, helping them integrate life insurance into their plans. And today, he is going to talk to us about successful strategies seen in large life insurance cases from the perspective of an estate planning attorney. Please welcome Chris Ehrlich.
Thanks so much, Tom, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. So for those of you whom I haven't met, I've worked with a number of you through the years. I'm a lawyer. Nobody throw anything, please. And although I've tried to convince my children for years that what I do for a living is fight for truth, justice, and the American way, as it turns out, I do estate planning, wills and trusts, right? That's what I do. And I have a strange niche. Most estate planning lawyers, their practice is fairly local. Their clients are right where they are. Mine's different. I have a national practice, which doesn't make me any better or any worse of an estate planning lawyer. My clients just happen to be much larger in net worth. I work with some Forbes 400 billionaires, a number of professional athletes, a number of entertainers, et cetera, and folks who, quite frankly, have lived the American dream. So what I'm often asked is, hey, Chris, when you work with these clients, most certainly they're exposed to life insurance. And I say, absolutely. I probably don't have one of those clients who doesn't use life insurance in some way, shape, or form in their plan. And for the last 21 years that I've done this, they've asked, have you seen anything, any commonalities, any traits, any things that are repeated that you've learned from life insurance professionals as they've worked with these clients? What have the ones who have been most successful done from your perspective? Because you've seen hundreds of them, and I have. So what I thought we'd do today is talk about some of the commonalities, what I've seen work over and over and over again. And we'll do a little bit of corollary of, what hasn't been as successful. These are my observations of what you guys have taught me, what I've seen as being most successful. The first one is this: listening to problems and showing that life insurance is a tool that solves those problems. What I've noticed is the most successful financial services professionals, they ask very basic questions at the beginning, and then you know what they do? They shut up. So what they do is they'll say, how's your family? How'd you get started? What's your story? And then you know what they hear? They hear things like, I'm in a second marriage. Immediately, without the client ever announcing, by the way, here's my challenge. I'm in a second marriage and I have children from a prior marriage and I have a spouse here and I'm worried about them not having a conflict later in life. They don't say it that way. They simply say, I'm in a second marriage. And the most successful financial services professionals do what? They say, I got it. I got it. We want to make sure that your family stays a family, that Thanksgiving is about Thanksgiving. And so what we do is we present a very simple solution to that. The simple solution being, hey, have you thought about cash, life insurance for your children in maybe an irrevocable trust so we can avoid estate taxes, and the other assets passed to the spouse? Something very simple. And it came from, they simply asked a basic question. How are you? How's your family? I'll give you another example of that. Sometimes you'll say, hey, what business are you in? And they'll very quickly tell you they have one child who's in the business and one or two who are not. The most successful The most successful financial services professionals recognize as an opportunity to help this family. You see, I'm a big, big believer that we're here, I'm here, you're here, in a really unique position. These folks are talking to us about what matters to them, what they care about, their family, their finances, their business, our job, our duty, our mission, our responsibility, it's to help. You have the tools to do that. So when somebody says one kid's in the business and two aren't, what does it tell you? You've seen the movie before. Later, what's going to happen is the child who's in the business is going to say, hey, let's reinvest the money in the business. The children who aren't in the business are going to say, why do you have a company car? Or for more larger businesses, why are you flying on the company's plane? I want distributions. The one who's in the business says, no. I want to reinvest in the company. It started from listening. All the person said, all they said was one kid's in the business, two aren't. And the life insurance is the solution to the problem, right? What can the other children who aren't in the business get? Other assets in the life insurance. It solves the problem. It makes Thanksgiving about Thanksgiving. It helps the family, and it started with listening. Or another basic scenario that we run across from time to time, and that is, I'm in business and I have a business partner. Really? What does it tell you when you listen? It tells you that if you aren't careful, you're going to end up in business with somebody's spouse. And that's not good for anyone, right? What's the solution? How do you solve it? That's where life insurance comes in and saves the day. It was listening. That's all they said. I have a business partner. Or one of the techniques, or one of the things that happens often is somebody will walk into the room and client will say, sold my business, had a large liquidity event. And they'll say to the life insurance professional, appreciate you being here, but I don't need any life insurance for estate taxes. Got it. Why is that? Well, I have the liquidity. I've got stocks and bonds. Really? So, are you working on that? Absolutely. I've got the best investment professionals out there. I focus on it every day. Does it matter to you? It does. Interesting. Well, would it upset you to know that we have no idea what that portfolio is going to be doing on the day you die? If you happen to die in March of 2009 and the Dow's at 6,500, that portfolio that you spent 5, 10, 15, 20 years building, would you be upset to know that it'd have to be sold in March of 2009? Of course you would. They simply listened. And when the client told them, this portfolio matters to me, it matters to me, they responded with a solution to a problem. Or other clients will come and they'll say, hey, you know what I want? I want to make sure my children are okay. Don't we all? Don't we all? I know, for me personally, my dad was absolutely, not just my dad, but he was my best friend. And one of the things that I got from him was a backstop. And before he died, I always knew he was there, financially and otherwise, in case I needed him. And one of the scariest things for me, of course, was, although I've been blessed with financial success, when he died, not only did I miss him terribly and still do, it's that backstop wasn't there. There wasn't that certainty. And one of the things that you can do, and one of the things I've seen over and over and over, is when families or a client says, I want to make sure my children are okay, the one place we can have certainty, the one thing that is certain, it's not the stock portfolio, it's not what the real estate's worth, it's not what the house is worth, it's not what the business is worth, it's life insurance. It solves the problem. Emotionally insecure because I want certainty for my children. And I can go on and on and on. The very best financial service professionals, I hear them listen. And they'll say, somebody brought up asset protection. I've got an idea. One of my favorite estate planning techniques, and a little bit of a plug for the breakout session I'll have later, we're going to talk about this one, is clients love the idea of the $5+ million gift exemption until you tell them that you got to give the stuff away. Then they don't like it so much. And so if you ask them what they want, what they'll tell you is, well, here's the thing. I'd like to be able to give it away, but I still want to control it, and I still want to be able to use it, and I'd like it protected from creditors, and I don't want it subject to estate tax. Fix that. We actually can, right? Some people call them spousal lifetime access trusts, SLATs. Some people call them his and her IDITs, but it's just an irrevocable trust that you set up not for your children, but for your spouse. So my wife, who's an incredible woman and incredibly kind, was very kind and generous and set up an irrevocable trust for my benefit. I think she got some decent estate planning advice. And the trustee of that irrevocable trust is me. The beneficiary of that trust is me. And so my wife asked me a straightforward question, as anyone would. So I get it. I'm going to give these assets, I own some other businesses, to this trust for you. Yep. And we can still use that money. Yeah. Of course, as long as we're married, and God willing, we always will be, we can. And then she said to me, kind of like that dog that hears the funny noise, she tilted her head. And she said, but what if you die? I said, well, then it goes to the kids. It can't go back to you. And she says, well, what are we going to do about that? And I said, 2 words, life insurance. So I said to my wife, hey, financially, not emotionally, you're indifferent as to whether I'm alive or dead, right? Because if I'm alive, the assets are in the trust for me, we're together. If I die, there'll be a separate trust for you that gets the life insurance. We're going to talk about that strategy. But the point being, if you listen to the clients and they tell you, I want to control it, I control that. I want to benefit from it. I benefit from that. I don't want to pay estate taxes on it. I won't pay estate taxes on that. If you listen, you'll solve their problem. Next, using the endorsement of a non-life insurance professional is significant. Again, I have been so blessed and so fortunate to work with so many of you. And what I've noticed is it's so much easier if you say to your prospect or your client, hey, I know an estate planning lawyer. He's good. Those clients almost always hire me. Similarly, the most successful life insurance professionals build relationships with non-life insurance professionals. And so when you all leave the room, I'll tell you what happens. The client turns their head. We call it the head turn in the estate planning field. And they say, what would you do? I don't sell life insurance. I won't make a dime whether it's bought or sold. But to the extent that I can say, I believe in it, that's what I would do, that's what I've done for my family, it makes sense. That endorsement of a non-life insurance professional is huge, and the most successful professionals use it. Next, simple presentation. So I'm a lawyer, and I'm also a CPA, or maybe a recovering CPA. Used to be a KPMG a long time ago. And I have to tell you, the most successful life insurance professionals present materials that are extraordinarily simple. And the ones who are not successful, I can't count the number of numbers on the page. I can't follow it, right? And then you're going, there's like lines and lines and lines and lines and lines of it. I can't figure it out, right? The most successful ones simply say, it's a math problem. What are you looking for? And clients will say, it matters to me that, in one situation, the death benefit's there, right? If I die, some money's there for my wife. Great, it's 2 numbers. How much do you need to deposit? What do you get out? There's your rate of return there. And it's pretty exceptional. Simple, 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 and it's a very straightforward math problem. If you're ever, as an estate planning lawyer, in a meeting where you see rows of numbers presented, it's not gonna go well. And what the clients say afterwards, when you all are out of the room, is, did you follow that? Right? Simple is better. Again, you're gonna hear in my presentation later this afternoon, everything I do in estate planning, I break down into 4 steps. One of those steps is, moving assets and providing liquidity. That's life insurance. I have a multi-billionaire client who still refers to the sale to an irrevocable trust that we did as step 3, right? And you say, well, gosh, Chris, does that make any sense? Actually, it does, because that's what resonated with him. That's what connected with him. Next, I can't emphasize this enough. Folks don't realize what you have until you don't have it. The tax advantages of life insurance, and I'm an estate planning lawyer. I can tell you, there is not a single planning technique I can do. Not a GRAT, not an IDIT, not a charitable remainder trust, not a family limited partnership, none of them, that can match life insurance, and here's why. There's a huge head start. Imagine if I were to say to you, there's a tool out there that will grow income tax-free. You'd say, you mean an IRA or a 401k? No. What about when I receive it, it'll be income tax-free? Really? Some kind of like lawsuit award or something? Compensating me? No. And what if I said, if you own it right, it'll never be subject to estate taxes? Those benefits, often referred to as those 3 thin threads, right, by folks in the life insurance industry, are enormously powerful. And if we don't recognize those, call those out, we're making a significant mistake. And by the way, the assumption that they'll always be there, I don't know that. We have $17 trillion of debt. Let's get while the getting's good. I tell folks all the time, if you're interested in figuring out which estate planning techniques to use, why don't you look at the ones they're thinking of getting rid of? They work. Mastery of the product and market, able to explain both. So again, what I've seen successfully is there isn't a question that's asked that the life insurance professional isn't able to very simply and concisely answer. The analogy in the trust and estates world is, I promise you, if you pick up one of our trusts, not that they're all the same, and you ask me what a paragraph says, I can tell you. If you ask me what the sentence means, I know it. It's not because I'm a genius or brilliant. I've read the thing 50,000 times. The most successful life insurance professionals know their stuff backwards and forwards. So how do you differentiate yourselves? What have I seen folks do to differentiate themselves, to make themselves different in this ultra affluent marketplace? What do they do? I tell our folks in my office, and I'll tell you the same thing. I think there's 4 things you need to do to differentiate yourself, to set yourself apart. The first thing, of course, is you have to have technical competency. You're not gonna get anywhere if you don't understand how the product works, if you don't understand how a trust works, if you don't understand how estate planning works. You need to be technically competent. Now, the truth is, you don't need to be the most technically competent. You don't have to be the world's foremost expert on it. You don't. You need to have a level of competence and understand what you've got. The second thing you need to do is you need to be able to communicate it clearly. I say to folks in my office all the time, and mind you, I'm talking to lawyers. I say, big words don't win, small words win. Big words aren't smart, small words are smart. The object of the game isn't to impress people with really long, complicated sentences and words. It's simple. Clear communication matters. So let me give you an example of that. You're in a second marriage? Let's make Thanksgiving about Thanksgiving, and let's use life insurance to make sure the family isn't ripped apart by this wealth. Let's use clear communication to say something as simple as, can you tell me what the wealth is for? What is it for? Can you answer the purpose question? Clear communication matters. That's where the jumbled spreadsheet doesn't work. Clear makes a difference. Third thing, and I think this is huge, arguably the most important one, I think you genuinely have to care. These clients have to matter to you. Some folks will say, isn't trust the most important thing? I think trust comes from caring. I think you either care about people or you don't. So I was traveling the other day, giving a speech, and I got a call from a multi-billionaire client. I spoke with him from 9 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. And there wasn't one aspect of that conversation that had one thing to do with taxes or trusts or life insurance. It had to do with the fact that their father was sick, that their brother had attempted suicide. And he called because he knows he matters to me. The most successful financial services professionals, it's palpable, you can feel it. These clients matter. I'm sure you've all seen the Simon Sinek talk, the TED Talks on, start with why. Our why, it's very simple. Help families. I say to our lawyers, don't come to me and tell me we sold another trust or another IDIT or another family limited partnership. You measure your day on one question. Did you help a family today? And I gotta tell you, in your business with life insurance, it is so much more about the folks who are living and what you can do to help their lives. That caring sets it apart. The final thing that I'll end the presentation with today is something my dad taught me. And that is simply do what you say you're going to do. And as crazy and as simple as that sounds, if a client says to me, how much will the estate plan cost? And I tell them $10,000. I've received phone calls from clients after they get the $10,000 bill saying thanks. And I said, for what? And they said, well, you said it would cost $10,000 and it did. Yeah. But it differentiates you. Or if you say you're gonna have something in 2 weeks, you get it to them in 2 weeks. If you say you're gonna call them back, call them back. If you say you're gonna email them, email them. And if you say that they matter to you, show them that they matter by doing what you say you're gonna do. Final point, you all have a unique opportunity. You are in these folks' lives who have led the American dream. It is truly exceptional. We are not here by accident. You have the ability to impact lives, to help families with what you do. It's true. I urge you, get in front of your clients and ask the basic questions. How are you? How's your family? How's your business? And when you do that, you'll be able to do what we all should be doing, making a difference, touching lives, and impacting others. Thanks.
They liked it.